Simon Banks has served as Chief of Staff or Deputy Chief of Staff to 3 federal Labor leaders, including Kevin Rudd. Simon Banks joins us live now from Canberra. Good morning, Simon.
Hi Miriam, how are you going?
Simon, to begin with, what's your reading of the mood currently among Labor MPs this weekend? Do you see the numbers still overwhelmingly in Julia Gillard's favour?
Yeah, look, I think that is the case. If the ballot was to be held today, I think it's roughly lining up about 2/3 for Julia Gillard, about 1/3 for Kevin Rudd. I've got to say, I don't see that changing very much over the coming days. I think there may be some moves at the margin around that, but I'd be pretty confident that Julia is going to retain the leadership on Monday morning.
And the poll results that we've been hearing this morning have been released. Do you think that those might have an effect on how Labor MPs will be voting on Monday?
Look, I mean, they'll undoubtedly be one of the factors that they take into account. I mean, you're really seeing that, I think, in the pictures you're getting from both of the camps in the current contest. I mean, Julia's very much focusing on, I guess, the sort of the act of governing, of sort of being Prime Minister. And I guess with 18 months still to go in the current parliamentary term, that's a pretty important consideration for the caucus. Kevin, on the other hand, is pitching himself about who is best placed to beat Tony Abbott at the election in 18 months' time. And you're seeing, of course, in the public opinion polls that you almost get the reverse of where it looks like at the moment the caucus is lining up. So within the caucus, it looks about 2/3, 1/3 to Julia. In the public opinion polls, about 2/3, 1/3 to Kevin.
In your opinion, what do you see are the major strengths and weaknesses of the approaches that Julia Gillard and Kevin Rudd have been making with this campaign?
Well, I think exactly that picture I was just talking about there. I think, you saw Julia's press conference yesterday. I mean, she was talking really about, in the language she kept using about getting the job done. She's had a pretty impressive record since becoming Prime Minister about getting things through the Parliament. 269 pieces of legislation through the Parliament. There's only really one bill that the government hasn't made headway on yet, and that's the Malaysian solution legislation, but she's got the mining tax through, the carbon tax through, changes to the private health insurance rebate, a budget that was opposed by Tony Abbott and the coalition. So she's got a pretty impressive record on that front on getting things done and governing, and I think that's really the strength she's pitching. On the other hand, of course, Kevin is pitching something which is undeniable, that he is more popular out there in the community. There is a sense out there that, a large section of the community would prefer him to be Prime Minister. And of course, that has electoral consequences. So they're the two pitches that they're making. And I guess we'll get to see finally on Monday morning which way the caucus decides.
And, the revelations that have been unearthed over the past week with the accusations being fired by both supporters for Julia Gillard and Kevin Rudd have no doubt, caused quite a bit of damage. How can Labor possibly recover after such an open war over this vote?
Yeah, look, anytime you have a leadership ballot, and I've got to say this one has been very personal at times, it clearly damages your brand and has some impact. But look, at the end of the day, come the next election, the Australian people will decide who's best to govern over the next 3 years, who's going to do the best job in terms of looking after, their interest rates, tax, education, health. They're the very pragmatic issues that Australians ultimately take into account. And whilst any leadership ballot is always very, very damaging, a good example of the fact that ultimately it doesn't determine your fate is that, of course, when Paul Keating took over from Bob Hawke as Prime Minister, that was a very damaging battle at the time, and yet Paul Keating went on to win the 1993 election.
And how are Labor MPs feeling in light of, the amount of, baggage that's been shown in recent days and the sorts of statements that have been made, attacking both Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard? Are Labor MPs feeling a little bit shell-shocked themselves, I suppose?
Well, I think like a lot of the Australian people, the Labor caucus is looking forward to getting this over and done with on Monday morning and then moving on. And I think more broadly across the Labor Party, I can say, the Labor Party in Queensland, led by Anna Bligh, is in the fight of its life. And, Anna's been getting on with the job. She's been on the ground campaigning. Unlike Campbell Newman, who's largely disappeared from public view over the last few days, Anna's out there still striving for a vote. And look, I just hope that she can get some clean air. I think she's doing a fantastic job in the campaign. Let's let her have some clean air so that she can put the best case on behalf of herself and Labor to retain government in Queensland.
Simon Banks, thank you very much for joining us.
A pleasure.